You know that terrible fact that society has struggled with for decades, the fact that welfare and assistance to the poor creates a culture of dependency, and people who receive it spend that money on liquor and drugs and are discouraged from seeking work and lead a life of indolence and moral depravity. You know that fact that's been accepted by politicians for generations turns out completely false and, might I add, defamatory to the world's poor and the nation's poor. Eduardo Porter of the New York Times is kind enough to bring to our attention a study by the Poverty Action Laboratory at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They released a paper last week which assessed the effects of 7 cash transfer programs in Mexico, Morocco, Honduras, Nicaragua, the Philippines, and Indonesia, and found, quote, and this is quoting the paper, quote, no systematic evidence that cash transfer programs discourage work. In other words, this does not lead to a culture of indolence or laziness at all. Now, a World Bank report from 2014 that Porter also points to examined cash assistance programs in Africa, Asia, and Latin America and found, contrary to popular stereotype, and I'm quoting Eduardo Porter now, the money was not typically squandered on things like alcohol and tobacco. And yet we get the stereotype that people on handouts are somehow lazy. In fact, even the term handouts is somewhat insulting. So what are we to infer from this? I think what we can infer, it's pretty straightforward, is that when people are inclined not to look out for people in need, when people are inclined not to look out for members of their community who are in need, who are suffering, they will make up mythologies in order to neglect them. And I think the mythology that we need to fight nowadays is the mythology that the poor are undeserving of the help that we give them. Politicians will tell you that poverty is not a topic they can campaign and win on, but I'll tell you, morally, we win when we as a nation recognize that no one among us should go without food, shelter, or clothing.